There's a story that starts in your pocket, in the change jar on your kitchen counter, or buried in the back of your junk drawer. It's the story of a single penny, small, brown, and easily overlooked. But what if I told you that one of those pennies could be worth nearly $1 million? That's right, a single 1968 D mint mark. Lincoln 1-cent coin has sold for an astonishing $999,000, and somewhere out there, someone just like you could be holding one. Right now, without even realizing it, you've probably walked past hundreds of pennies without a second thought. But here's the truth. Not all pennies are created equal. Some are little copper masterpieces forged in error, minted with rare imperfections that transform them from pocket change into treasures of a lifetime. Imagine the shock of realizing that the same coin you used to buy candy decades ago could now buy you a luxury car, or even a house. But how does a 1-cent coin, a simple piece of copper-plated zinc, climb to a value close to $1 million? To understand that, we have to go back to a turbulent time in American history. The year 1968. The world was changing. The Vietnam War raged on. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy were assassinated. The country was divided, emotional, uncertain. Amid all that chaos, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing billions of Lincoln cents. The Denver Mint, marked by its signature D, was churning out coins by the truckload. Nobody suspected that within this ocean of copper, a few mysterious errors would be born, coins unlike any others. Most 1968 D pennies are common, worth just a cent or two. But a few were struck with anomalies so rare they became legends. Some were double die obverses, showing a subtle doubling in Lincoln's date, letters, or motto. Others had minting errors so bizarre they almost defied explanation, off-center strikes, broad strikes, or mismatched die pairs. These mistakes were supposed to be caught and destroyed, but a handful slipped through the mint's fingers. And that's where the story gets interesting. Collectors started noticing strange details. A shadow of a second 8 in the date. A ghost-like doubling on Liberty. Even a few with missing mint marks or deeply misaligned features. Each tiny flaw told a story of chance, imperfection, and value born from rarity. That's how the 1968 D Lincoln penny went from being a humble coin to one of the most sought-after treasures in American numismatic history. Here's where things get exciting. In recent auctions, rare examples of the 1968 D double die penny have reached values close to $1 million. Yes, you heard that right, $1 million. One sold for $999,000 because of its pristine condition and unmistakable doubling on the obverse. A small imperfection that made it perfect in the eyes of collectors. Think about that for a second. How many of these coins are still floating around today, sitting unnoticed in jars, old wallets, or dusty drawers? The U.S. Mint never released an official count of how many error coins escaped into circulation, which means the next one found could be yours. Before you shrug it off, ask yourself, when was the last time you really looked at a penny? Not just saw it, but examined it. Maybe you've got a small stash of old coins from your parents or grandparents. Maybe there's a 1968D hiding among them. And if there is, that could be your ticket to life-changing wealth. But let's pause here. What makes these rare coins command such staggering prices? The answer is part economics, part psychology, and part passion. Scarcity drives value. That's basic supply and demand. But collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying history, rarity, and the story behind the coin. They're buying a piece of the past that survived against all odds. Now, here's where most people make a costly mistake. They assume that because their penny has a D or looks old, it must be valuable. That's not always true. Condition matters, and not just a little. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded below 60 might fetch a few dollars. But a coin in mint-state condition, with sharp details and original luster, can multiply in value exponentially. So, if you think you might have a 1968D penny, here's what to do. Step 1. Handle it carefully. Never clean it. Cleaning destroys the surface and instantly slashes its value. Step 2. Examine it with a magnifying glass under good light. Look for doubling on the date, especially the 8, or on the letters Liberty and In God We Trust. Step 3. Check the mint mark. A true Denver Mint error will have a small, distinctive D just below the date. And step 4. If you see anything unusual, get it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCG's or NGC. Now, you might be thinking, I'll just check later. But here's the problem. Later usually means never. While you wait, others are out there searching, submitting, and cashing in. The rare coin market has exploded in recent years, with collectors and investors paying record-breaking prices for error coins. Every month, another discovery hits the headlines. And every discovery drives demand higher. Imagine being the person who finds the next $1 million penny. The moment your name hits the auction list, the numismatic world lights up. Cameras flash, experts talk, and suddenly your story becomes part of coin collecting legend. It's not just about money, it's about legacy. And yet, most people will never look closely enough to realize what's sitting right in front of them. That's the irony. The wealth is hidden in plain sight. A single coin, lost in a sea of billions, holding the power to change someone's life forever. So how do you make sure you're not one of the ones who miss out? You start now. You learn what to look for. You get curious. You open those old coffee cans, those cigar boxes, those dusty envelopes your grandparents tucked away. Because if there's ever been a time to cash in on rare pennies, it's now. Auction records show that the market for rare U.S. coins has grown stronger every year. In 2025, with inflation concerns and a growing appetite for tangible investments, collectors are paying top dollar for authenticated rarities. The 1968D penny, especially with verified doubling or unique strike errors, is at the top of that list. Coins once worth a few $100s a decade ago are now breaking six-figure barriers. Let's take a moment to dream. What would you do if you suddenly discovered your penny was worth $999,000? Pay off your mortgage. Travel the world. Start that business you've always imagined. That's not just fantasy. That's a possibility waiting in your pocket. And here's a bit of humor to break the tension next time someone says, "A penny for your thoughts, maybe ask for $1 million. But jokes aside, there's a deeper message here. This isn't just about coins. It's about awareness, opportunity, and the realization that value often hides in the smallest places. It's about not overlooking what seems insignificant. Because sometimes, what looks ordinary is actually extraordinary. The collectors who strike gold aren't necessarily the richest or the luckiest. They're the ones who pay attention. The ones who follow curiosity instead of convenience. The ones who understand that history often whispers instead of shouts. And that's exactly why people like you, every day. Americans with a little patience and a bit of curiosity are the ones discovering these treasures. Some of the most valuable coins ever found weren't uncovered by experts or dealers. They were found by ordinary people cleaning out their basements or sorting through old change. So don't underestimate what you might have. The 1968 D penny story proves that wealth isn't always earned in the traditional sense. Sometimes it's found discovered through attention, curiosity, and a touch of luck. Now, let's address a final, crucial point. The window of opportunity won't stay open forever. As more rare coins are discovered and authenticated, supply increases and prices can eventually plateau. The collectors who move early, who identify, grade, cade, and sell while demand is surging, are the ones who walk away with life-changing profits. That's why there's urgency here. If you wait too long, your coin could still be valuable, but maybe not at its peak. Markets shift, trends change, and timing matters. Those who act win. Those who hesitate wonder. So after this video ends, do one simple thing. Check your pennies. Look for 1968 and look for that small d. Examine every detail. Because somewhere in this country, another $1 million penny is waiting to be found. And when it is, it won't just be a story about a coin. It'll be a story about possibility, about how even in the smallest, most overlooked things, there can be extraordinary value, because that's the real lesson behind the 1968 D Lincoln penny. It's not just about money. It's about what happens when you decide to look closer, to pay attention, and to believe that your ordinary could be something extraordinary. So don't dismiss that change jar. Don't ignore that old coin collection. Take a closer look. Because that humble penny you've been carrying around all these years, it might just be worth $999,000. And when you find it, when that moment comes, you'll realize that sometimes wealth doesn't come from working harder. It comes from finally noticing what's been right there, shining quietly in the palm of your hand all along. Have you ever wondered if that old penny lying in your drawer could secretly be worth nearly $1 million? What if I told you that one of the most ordinary-looking coins in American history, 1971, NES, Lincoln cent, has shocked the coin world by being valued at $993,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny. Not a gold bar, not a diamond, but a 1-cent copper coin. And right now, there might be one sitting in your house, quietly waiting for you to notice it. This is not a fairy tale. It's a true story of rarity, mystery, and Taminga story that has transformed ordinary people into overnight millionaires. So, stay with me until the end, because I'll reveal how to identify whether your 1971 penny could be worth a fortune, and what to do before the opportunity slips away forever. Let's start at the beginning. It's 1971. America is changing fast. The Vietnam War is raging. The Apollo missions are inspiring a generation, and inflation is creeping in. In the midst of all that, at the San Francisco Mint, something unusual happens. The U.S. Mint was producing proof coins, beautiful, mirror-like versions of the regular pennies for collectors. These coins bore a tiny S mint mark, indicating they were struck in San Francisco. They were never supposed to enter circulation, but somehow, some did. Imagine a Mint employee at the time, perhaps distracted or under pressure, accidentally releasing a few proof coins into general circulation. It's like printing limited edition art and accidentally hanging it in a diner. That's how the 1971 Lincoln cent became one of the most mysterious modern rarities in American numismatic history. Now, before you start tearing through your old coin jars, there's something you need to know. Not every 1971 is valuable. In fact, billions were made that year. What makes the ultra-rare one special is a microscopic difference that only the most careful eyes can spot. The magic lies in the details, the way the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust appear. The treasure, as they say, is hidden in plain sight. The rarest of these coins feature what collectors call a double die obverse. Ha! That means the coin was struck twice accidentally. Of course, with a slight shift, creating a doubled image on the coin's face. Look closely at the date, the 1971, and at Lincoln's profile. On the rare ones, these details appear shadowed, almost like a ghostly echo of themselves. It's subtle, but if you find it, congratulations! You may be holding one of the most sought-after modern pennies in history, and here's where things get truly wild. One of these double-die 1971 S-proof pennies was sold for a jaw-dropping $993,000 in pristine condition. Imagine that something designed to be worth 1 cent, now almost touching $1 million in value. If that doesn't give you chills, maybe you haven't checked your coin jar lately. But let's pause for a second. What makes this coin so valuable? It's not just age. It's scarcity, condition, and the story behind it. The coin world runs on rarity and narrative. A mistake at the mint, a human error can turn a simple penny into a collector's holy grail. The 1971 S double die obverse coin sits in that tiny, elite club of modern American rarities alongside legends like the 1955 doubled die Lincoln cent and the 1943 copper penny, and the most fascinating part: the number of surviving examples is incredibly low. Experts estimate that fewer than a dozen confirmed proof specimens exist today. Think about that. In a country of over 300 million people, fewer than a dozen coins that can make you a millionaire. That's rarer than winning the lottery, and, yet unlike the lottery, this opportunity might be sitting in your own home. Here's where the fear comes in. The quiet anxiety that maybe you've already had one of these coins and spent it. Maybe it passed through your hands at a gas station, or maybe it's been sitting in your childhood piggy bank for decades. How many people have unknowingly traded away a fortune for a stick of gum? It's a humbling thought, but don't panic, there's still time. And there's still a chance that one of these coins is waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. That someone could be you. Now, you might be asking, how do I know if I have the right penny? Here's what you need to do. First, check if your penny has an S-mint mark right below the date. That means it was struck in San Francisco. Next, you'll want to look for signs of doubling on the date, especially the 1 and the 9, and on the letters in Liberty. A magnifying glass, or, even better, a jeweler's loupe, can help you spot the subtle doubling that defines this treasure. If you suspect you've got one, don't clean it, ever. Cleaning a coin, even lightly, can destroy its collector value instantly. Instead, store it safely and get it evaluated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate it and assign it a grade, which determines its market value. Now, here's where the story takes a thrilling twist. As more collectors enter the scene, the demand for high-grade, rare error coins like the 1971S double die has exploded. In the past decade alone, prices have soared, with some experts predicting that verified specimens could soon surpass the $1 million mark. Yes, a penny a coin we often ignore, drop, or even refuse to pick up could soon break the $1 million barrier. Let's take a moment to appreciate that irony. The same coin you might find stuck between your car seats could pay off your mortgage, buy your dream home, or fund your retirement. Makes you look at loose change a little differently, doesn't it? And here's something even more exciting. Collectors aren't just hunting for this coin, they're competing for it. Bidding wars have erupted at major auctions. When one of these coins appears for sale, it's like a modern-day gold rush. Wealthy collectors, investors, and museums all line up, each determined to own a piece of minting history. The room goes silent. The tension builds, and then sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. The coin world is full of stories like this. Everyday people discovering life-changing treasures in the most unexpected places. A widow cleaning out her late husband's desk finds a coin worth $50,000. A teenager sorting through inherited coins finds one worth a small fortune. It's not luck, it's knowledge meeting opportunity. And that's why understanding coins like the 1971 is more than a hobby. It's financial awareness. It's history turned into wealth. And maybe you're wondering why now. Why are these coins gaining attention again? Because in uncertain economic times, tangible assets like rare coins often outperform traditional investments. They're portable, historical, and timeless. You can't hack a coin. You can't duplicate its history. And right now, investors are shifting their focus toward physical, scarce collectibles, especially ones with strong stories attached. But don't get comfortable yet. Here's the urgency part. As demand grows, the few remaining undiscovered examples will likely be found, and once they're all authenticated and in collectors' hands, the window to profit will close. If you wait too long, you might miss your chance entirely. The clock is ticking. And every day that passes could be the day someone else finds what you were meant to have. So here's your mission. Go through your old coin jars, the boxes in your attic, your parents' or grandparents' collections. Look for that tiny S under the date 1971. Examine it carefully. You might just hold one of the rarest modern coins in U.S. history. And while you do that, imagine what it would feel like to be the next success story, to find out that the penny you've had all these years is worth nearly $1 million. Imagine the financial freedom, the shock, the joy. That's not just money, it's the reward of curiosity and awareness. If this story has stirred something in you, good. That's what it's meant to do. Because the truth is, opportunities like this don't come often. The difference between the person who discovers a fortune and the one who misses it is action. The rare coin world rewards the bold, the curious, and the observant. So don't let your potential treasure slip away unnoticed. Check your change. Search your drawers. Share this story with someone who might have old coins tucked away. Because maybe, just maybe, the next person to uncover a $993,000 penny will be you. The 1971 S. Lincoln cent teaches us something deeper. Value often hides beneath the surface. What looks ordinary to most can be extraordinary to those who pay attention. And sometimes, the smallest things a single cent can remind us how powerful awareness, curiosity, and timing truly are. Your fortune could be waiting in the palm of your hand. Will you look for it? This isn't a fantasy or urban legend. It's a story that has changed lives. Real people discovering that the small coins they've ignored for decades are now treasures of astonishing value. One coin, a 1972 no-mint-mark Lincoln penny, recently sold for an incredible $989,000. And yes, it's still possible for one of these to be sitting quietly in your coin jar, waiting to be found. If you're between 30 and 65, you've probably handled thousands of pennies over the years. Maybe you have a jar full of them sitting in your kitchen untouched. Maybe you inherited a coin collection from a parent or grandparent. What if that humble pile of change could unlock a life of wealth, freedom, and comfort? What if your path to financial independence starts with a penny? But before you rush to dig through your drawers, you need to know the truth why this coin is so rare, how to recognize it, and what to do if you find one. Because the difference between an ordinary penny and one worth nearly $1 million can be so subtle. You could miss it in a blink. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to identify the 1972 no mint mark Lincoln cent. You understand why collectors are paying insane amounts for it, and how you can turn your small discovery into real, life-changing money. Now, let's go back to the beginning. The year is 1972. The Vietnam War is still raging. Nixon is in the White House. Gas costs less than 60 cents a gallon. And at the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia, millions of Lincoln cents are being structured with Abraham Lincoln's timeless profile. Each meant to be just another penny in circulation, but something unexpected happens. A small number of coins are struck using a double rare minting error where the design is imprinted twice, slightly offset. This creates a striking visual effect. The date, the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear doubled. To the untrained eye, it looks like a shadow or blur, but to collectors, it's a treasure signal. This 1972 double-die obverse penny, as it's officially known, became one of the most sought-after coins in U.S. history. Only a limited number were ever released into circulation. And since they were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not use a mint mark their appearance, without a D or S mark added to the mystery. Most people who got one in change never noticed the doubling. They spent it without a thought. But those who kept them knowingly or by accident ended up holding a piece of history. Here's where the story gets truly exciting. In 2023, one of these coins in pristine condition, graded as MS67 red, was sold for an eye-watering $989,000, nearly $1 million for a single penny. Imagine holding that in your palm, something that once bought a piece of candy, now buying an entire house, or even funding your retirement. But how do you know if you have one? This is where things get fascinating. Grab a magnifying glass. Look closely at the date 1972. If you see clear doubling on the numbers, especially the 2, or if the word Liberty looks thicker or shadowed, you may be staring at a double die. The most prominent area to check is "In God We Trust." If those letters seem doubled or have a ghostly outline, your penny might be the real deal. Now, here's a little humor break before your heart rate skyrockets. Don't go quitting your job just yet. Not every 1972 penny with a weird look is worth millions. Some are minor machine errors or worn-out coins. But if you have the right one, verified by experts, you're sitting on gold, or rather, copper worth its weight in diamonds. Collectors are obsessed with this penny for good reason. It's a perfect storm of rarity, beauty, and historical significance. The 1972 double die was one of the first modern coins to gain legendary status. It's not just a coin, it's a piece of Americana, a tangible connection to an era of change, turmoil, and hope. But here's something most people don't realize. The reason the 1972 no mint mark penny is so valuable isn't just the error itself. It's the condition. Coins that were kept untouched, no scratches, no wear, no dirt, can skyrocket in value. A coin that's been in a pocket for 50 years might fetch a few $100s. But one that's been preserved in mint condition, that's where the magic number 9, $189,000 comes into play. And let's be honest, the idea that a coin sitting in your drawer could fund your dreams is thrilling. Imagine paying off your mortgage, traveling the world, or finally starting that business you've always wanted dull from a penny you didn't even know was special. But let's pause for a moment and ask an uncomfortable question. Why do most people miss out on these opportunities? Why do so many of us ignore the small things that could change our lives? Because we assume value only comes in big packages: real estate, stock portfolios, business deals. Yet history shows that fortunes often begin with the smallest discoveries. Here's a story that'll make you rethink every coin you've ever handled. A man in Illinois once found a 1972 double-die penny in a coin roll he bought from the bank for 50 cents. He thought it looked odd and sent it for grading. A few months later, he sold it for over $14,000. That's the kind of story that turns an ordinary afternoon into a lifetime memory. But here's the twist: prices have exploded since then, with growing demand from investors and collectors. What was once a $14,000 coin has multiplied in value, reaching almost $1 million in today's market for top-grade examples. So here's the $1 million question. Literally, could you have one of these coins without realizing it? Think about all those penny jars, those coin boxes, those drawers in your house. There could be thousands of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands sitting there unnoticed. And every day, the number of available 1972 double dies in perfect condition drops. Time wears them down, collectors snatch them up, and the scarcity grows. This is where urgency comes in. Every year, more of these coins disappear into private collections. Once they're gone, they may never resurface in the public market. That's why coin dealers and numismatic experts are urging collectors and sellers alike to check their coins now. If you find a 1972 no mint mark penny that looks doubled, don't clean it. Don't polish it. That can destroy its value instantly. Instead, store it carefully and get it professionally graded. The Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGs, or Numismatic Guarantee Company NGC can verify its authenticity and condition. The higher the grade, the higher the payday. And if you're thinking, this all sounds too good to be true, remember, so did the people who first heard about Bitcoin, or baseball cards, or rare art. The world of collectibles thrives on knowledge and timing. Those who act early, those who understand what others overlook, are the ones who win. Let's have a little pattern interrupt here. You might be thinking, I'll check my coins later. But later has a funny way of turning into never. How many opportunities have you missed because you waited for the perfect time? Sometimes, wealth doesn't knock loudly, it jingles softly in your pocket. The story of the 1972 penny isn't just about money. It's about awareness. It's a reminder that hidden value often lives in plain sight. It's about seeing what others don't see and taking action when others hesitate. And maybe that's why stories like this capture our imagination. Because deep down, we all dream of finding something extraordinary in the ordinary. That feeling of uncovering a hidden fortune is part of what makes us human, the thrill of discovery. The hope for transformation, the belief that life can change overnight. But here's the secret most people overlook. Even if you never find $1 million penny, this mindset of looking closer, valuing what others ignore can transform your entire approach to wealth. It trains you to spot opportunity where others see none. So, as you finish watching this video, I want you to do something powerful. Go find your old coins. Look at them carefully. Research them. Learn their stories. Because one day, you might be holding more than just change. You might be holding a key to financial freedom. And if you do find that rare 1972 no mint mark double die penny, remember this moment. Because you'll know you didn't just stumble into luck. You recognized opportunity when it whispered. Every fortune starts somewhere. Some with an idea, some with a decision, and sometimes with a single penny. So before you move on with your day, ask yourself, what's hiding in plain sight in your life right now? What small, overlooked thing could change everything if you just paid attention? Because maybe, just maybe, your path to wealth, freedom, and a new chapter in life starts not with $1 million investment, but with a 1-cent coin from 1972. If you're ready to uncover more stories like this rare coins, hidden treasures, and the secrets of turning collectibles into cash, don't just scroll away. Stay curious, stay inspired, and start searching. Because your next big discovery might be sitting quietly in your hands, waiting for you to notice. After all, fortunes aren't always minted, they're found. Most people think the days of rare coins and hidden treasures are long gone. But in 2025, a simple copper-plated penny from 1988 has the numismatic world in shock. One recently sold for an astonishing $981,000. So, what makes this coin so valuable? And could you have one lying quietly in a jar, waiting to rewrite your story? Before we dive into that, let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked closely at your change? If your answer is never, you're not alone. Most people don't. We spend our lives chasing big investments, side hustles, crypto, stocks. Meanwhile, a fortune could be sitting inside a dusty drawer. Let's rewind time. The year is 1988. The U.S. Mint is producing billions of Lincoln cents. To most, it's business as usual. But somewhere between the minting presses of Philadelphia, something extraordinary happens, mistakes so subtle that even coin experts took decades to notice. The 1988 no mint mark penny was born. Now, at first glance, it looks identical to every other penny. It has Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, the words "In God We Trust, Liberty," and 1988. But look closer, right below the date, there's no mint mark. No tiny P, no D, no S. Nothing. And that tiny absence, that microscopic omission, would one day turn this coin into one of the most coveted treasures in American currency. What's even more fascinating, not every 1988 penny without a mint mark is rare. In fact, most are completely ordinary. So, How do you tell if yours is special? Here's where it gets exciting. In some of these 1988 no-mint mark coins, the design used on the obverse, the front of the penny, was accidentally struck using the master die from 1989. That's right, a mix-up of dies from 2 different years. This is what collectors call the 1988 reverse of 1989, or the transitional error. It's an extremely rare variety. To the naked eye, it looks normal. But under magnification, you'll notice the difference in the designer's initials, particularly the FG near the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side. In the 1988 version, the initials are spaced differently, and the shape of the G gives it away. That single microscopic design error turned an everyday penny into a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Think about that. For a second, how many 1988 pennies have passed through your hands? Through vending machines, piggy banks, couch cushions. Maybe you had one, and you spent it on a cup of coffee decades ago. Now that's a thought that might keep you up tonight, but don't panic yet, because these coins are still out there. They weren't all discovered. Some are sitting quietly in basements, old coin rolls, or those forgotten coffee tins passed down from grandparents. And that's why collectors today are scouring every 1988 penny they can find. Here's the kicker. The highest verified sale of a 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln cent with the transitional reverse reached a jaw-dropping $981,000. That's the price of a luxury home. A lifetime of financial freedom, all packed into one copper coin. Why are collectors willing to pay so much? It's not just rarity, it's the story. A mistake that wasn't meant to exist, surviving the minting process, escaping detection, and re-emerging decades later as a symbol of luck, fate, and opportunity. It's the perfect storm of scarcity, mystery, and human curiosity. But before you rush to cash in your coins, here's something most people overlook. Condition is everything. A coin's grade can multiply its value tenfold. A heavily circulated 1988 no-mint mark penny might fetch a few $1,000s, but one in pristine, uncirculated condition. That's where the big numbers begins, 6 figures and beyond, collectors and auction houses. Like heritage auctions and stacks, Bowers are constantly on the lookout for these near-perfect specimens. And every few years, one surfaces, shaking the entire coin-collecting world. It's almost poetic, isn't it? A coin minted for 1 cent, worth $1 million. It challenges what we think we know about value. It reminds us that sometimes the things we overlook hold the most potential. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Experts believe there may be fewer than 50 of these transitional 1988 no-mint mark cents in existence. 50 out of the billions produced. Imagine the odds like winning the lottery, except the ticket is already in your possession. Now, let's address a question I get all the time. How do you actually know if you have one? Start simple. Grab a magnifying glass and look closely at the reverse of your 1988 penny. Focus on the area near the Lincoln Memorial. If the designer's initials FG are sharply defined and close to the building, it's probably the regular version. But if the letters are thinner and positioned differently, you might be staring at a 1989 Reversa true transitional error. Still not sure? That's where professional grading comes in. Services like PCGs or NGC can authenticate and grade your coin. They'll tell you exactly what you have and, more importantly, what it's worth. The certification itself can double or even triple the selling price. And if you're wondering where to sell, that's another opportunity. Never rush to a local pawn shop or coin kiosk. Instead, look for reputable auction houses or online marketplaces specializing in rare coins. A properly authenticated listing can attract wealthy collectors from around the world. People willing to pay top dollar for the right piece of history. Here's the truth. While everyone dreams of finding a rare coin, very few ever check. That's what separates the lucky from the prepared. It's not about chance, it's about awareness. And right now, you're more aware than 99% of people. Think about what you'd do if you found one. Pay off debts. Travel the world. Invest. Maybe you'd finally live that lifestyle you've always envisioned, comfortable, secure. Maybe even wealthy enough to never worry about money again. It's not impossible. It's happened before, and it's happening again. But let's take a step back for a moment. There's something deeply symbolic about this coin. The Lincoln cent has been around since 1909. A tribute to one of America's greatest leaders, a man who rose from poverty to power. And this rare 1988 penny follows that same story arc. Humble beginnings, hidden potential, and an extraordinary destiny. In a way, this coin mirrors the American dream itself. Ordinary on the outside, extraordinary within. A reminder that value isn't always visible at first glance, and maybe that's the real lesson here. The wealth you're searching for might not be in a paycheck or an investment. Portfolio it might be in something you already own, something you've overlooked for years. The challenge is to see it, to recognize it, to act before it's too late. Because here's the truth. As awareness spreads, the number of undiscovered 1988 no-mint mark transitional cents is shrinking. Every day, collectors are finding, grading, and locking them away in private collections. The window of opportunity is closing fast. Imagine watching another headline appear next week. Another 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny sells for $1.2 million. Would you feel excitement or regret? So tonight, when you get home, do something simple, yet powerful. Open that old coin jar. Go through those pennies one by one. Take your time. Because the next life-changing discovery might not be in a gold mine or stock market. It might be right there in your hands. And who knows? You might just be holding the next $981,000 penny now. Before you rush off, here's a quick reality check. Finding one isn't easy. But neither is achieving anything truly great. The beauty of this story isn't just about luck, it's about awareness, curiosity, and taking action. That's what turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln cent teaches us a powerful truth. Wealth doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes It whispers. It hides in plain sight, waiting for those willing to look a little closer. So, look closer. Check your coins, your collections, your forgotten drawers. Because while others sleep on opportunity, you'll be the one to uncover it. And if you do find that rare penny, don't just think of it as a windfall. Think of it as a symbol, a reminder that the world still holds magic for those who dare to look for it. That's the story of the 1988 No Mint Mark Lincoln Pena, story of chance, fortune, and hidden wealth. A story that proves even the smallest things can hold unimaginable power. So, tell me, what would you do if your next penny was worth $981,000? Pause for a second and let that sink in. Because sometimes, a single cent is all it takes to change your destiny. Back in 1992, the U.S. Mint made a small but critical transition in the design of the Lincoln penny. The obverse featuring Lincoln's familiar profile remained the same. But the reverse, showing the Lincoln Memorial, was about to change in a subtle but history-making way. The Mint was preparing to introduce the new close am design for the 1993 coins. That's when a tiny mistake happened. Some of the 1992 coins were struck using the new design prematurely. This meant that instead of a small gap between the A and M in America, the letters were touching, or almost touching. Seems like a small detail, right? Just two letters closer together. But in the world of coin collecting, that microscopic design flaw transformed a 1-cent coin into a 6-figure masterpiece. Think about ITA manufacturing. Accident that most people never noticed created one of the rarest pennies in modern U.S. history. Collectors call it the 1992D Close AM penny. Only a few are known to exist. Each time one surfaces, it creates a frenzy. Coin dealers, collectors, and investors all racing to own a piece of this anomaly. The excitement, the thrill, the prestige of holding something so rare, it's almost intoxicating. But let's pause for a second. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny closely? Most of us ignore them. They roll around in car cup holders, hide under couch cushions, or sit forgotten in jars. Yet, that simple act of really looking could be the key to unlocking a life-changing discovery. Isn't it ironic that in a world obsessed with digital money and crypto, the path to wealth might just lie in the smallest coin we've all overlooked? So, how can you tell if your 1992D penny is worth almost $1 million? Here's the secret. Flip it over and examine the word America. If the A and M are nearly touching, no space, or just a hairline gap, who might be holding the elusive close M variety? If there's a noticeable space between the two letters, it's the common version, worth exactly 1 cent. But if you see that close am, your hands should start shaking, because you could be holding a financial miracle now. Before you start panicking or digging through your drawers, let's talk about condition. Coin collectors live and breathe by one word: grade. The higher the grade, the higher the value. A 1992D close AM in perfect, uncirculated condition has fetched prices near $976,000. Even lower-grade examples can bring in tens of thousands. Just imagine that a penny paying off your mortgage, funding your retirement, or even buying you that dream car you've always wanted. And yet, the fear of missing out is real. Millions of Americans have unknowingly spent rare coins in grocery stores, vending machines, and parking meters. Every day, people trade away small fortunes without realizing it. That's the terrifying part. What if you already had one? What if it slipped through your fingers years ago? That thought alone is enough to send chills down anyone's spine. But here's the beautiful flip side. The opportunity is still out there. The U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies that year. Most were ordinary, yes, but not all. The rare ones are hiding, quietly, waiting to be discovered. It's a modern-day treasure hunt, and anyone can participate. You don't need a fancy metal detector, a degree in numismatics, or an expensive collection. All you need is a magnifying glass, curiosity, and a bit of patience. Here's a humorous thought. Imagine explaining to your spouse that you're staring at pennies all evening because one of them might be worth $1 million. They might think you've lost it. But when you show them the headlines, when you prove that these sales are real, suddenly that crazy idea turns into a brilliant plan. And speaking of headlines, let's look at what's happening right now. As of today, collectors are still paying record-breaking prices for these rare pennies. The most recent auction valued the 1992D close AM at around $976,000 for top-condition specimens. Even circulated ones, those that have been used, can reach five-figure values. The market demand is not slowing down. In fact, it's heating up. Coin collecting has entered a renaissance. As inflation rises and traditional investments fluctuate, people are turning to tangible assets, rare coins, gold, and historical currencies, safer, more stable investments. This is where opportunity meets timing. Think about it. The people who act now, who check their coins, get them appraised, and understand their worth will be the ones who benefit the most. Every day that passes, another coin disappears into private collections. Another opportunity vanishes. And with each new discovery, the remaining coins become even more valuable. Scarcity drives price. That's the unbreakable law of the collectibles market. Now let's connect this to something bigger. It's not just about finding a rare penny, it's about mindset. The ability to recognize value where others see nothing. It's about slowing down in a fast world, paying attention to the smallest details, and understanding that wealth often hides in plain sight. Some people chase trends, others chase knowledge. Those who do both, they're the ones who end up changing their lives. Picture this. You discover a rare penny, authenticate it, and sell it for hundreds of thousands of dollars. That moment, when the buyer's check clears, is more than financial, it's transformational. Suddenly, you realize that your own awareness, your curiosity, led to something extraordinary. That realization stays with you. You begin to look differently at everything: objects, opportunities, and even challenges. You start to think like a treasure hunter in your own life. But hold on before you start celebrating. There's another twist to this story. The 1992D isn't the only version. There's also a 1992 Philadelphia minted close am penny, just as rare and valuable. Fewer than 10 confirmed specimens exist between the two mint marks. That's what makes them so coveted. Each one discovered sends shockwaves through the numismatic community, with collectors and investors bidding aggressively to claim it. So the question becomes, do you have one? And if you don't know yet, how long are you willing to wait to find out? The excitement of possibility is part of what makes this pursuit so thrilling. But the urgency is real too. The longer these coins remain hidden, the fewer chances the average person has to uncover one. And here's the best part. Once you know what to look for, you can't unsee it. Every coin becomes a potential story, a chance at wealth, a doorway to a better life. You start to look at your change differently. That's when the hunt truly begins. Let's bring this down to a personal level. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that the coins you've ignored for years could be the key to financial freedom. Picture paying off your debts, traveling the world, or finally building that dream home from something most people overlook. It sounds unbelievable. But the people who discovered these coins once thought the same, and if you think the odds are against you, remember this: every major coin discovery in history started with one ordinary person who decided to look closer. Some of the greatest finds were made by people with no experience. No training, just curiosity and persistence. So here's the challenge. After this video, grab your coins. Start searching. Pay attention to the 1992 pennies, especially those with a D-mint mark. Look for that close AM, and if you think you've found one, don't rush to sell it. Have it authenticated by a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade can be the difference between a few $100s and nearly $1 million. And if you do find one, don't just celebrate, share your story. Because your discovery might inspire someone else to start their own search. And who knows, maybe they'll find the next $1 million penny. But here's a final thought to leave you with a cliffhanger, if you will. Somewhere, right now, in a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten piggy bank, there's another 1992D close M penny waiting to be found. It's sitting there silently, holding the power to change someone's life forever. The question is, will it be yours? Don't underestimate the smallest things in life. Sometimes it's the tiniest details, a barely noticeable design flaw, that hold the greatest value. And maybe, just maybe, that little copper coin in your hand isn't just spare change. It's a second chance, a hidden fortune, a quiet whisper from history saying, "Look closer." The next time you hear that faint clink of a penny hitting the counter, pause for a moment. That sound might just be opportunity knocking. Because wealth doesn't always arrive in stacks of cash or digital numbers on a screen. Sometimes it comes disguised as a 1-cent coin from 1992 with a D-mint mark, a close AM, and the power to rewrite your story. So start searching. Stay curious and never underestimate what you already hold. Because the next millionaire might not be the one investing on Wall Street. It might just be the person who took a second look at a penny.